Hi, this is Andy Lunt coming to you once again from the beach on a South Sea island. Well, not really, but as I explained in day 6, it's where I'd like to be and where you might like to be as well. I am a retired United Methodist pastor and former dean of the Financial Leadership Academy. Glad to be with you. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Ted Brown. It's good to see you again. We chatted a couple of days ago. And just to remind you, I'm a layperson who has had the fortune of being involved with the Financial Leadership Academy from the beginning, and was a coach during FLA 1 and FLA 2. And with Andy, together, we are addressing leadership and culture change, of course, here in FLA 3. I want to welcome you here to day 8 of the 30-day challenge. And just to remind you, we are on a journey. We're on a journey of making a shift in both strategy and culture for achieving an identity and purpose that God has determined for your church and your congregation. As we discussed a couple of days ago, if you try to make this shift by yourself, you're going to find a great deal of angst, anxiety, weariness, and a whole number of other emotions that are just going to weigh down on you. And so it's important in order to make this journey to create a core team. And this core team will be a sounding board, a text kitchen for ideas and implementation as you go through this change. And it's going to be needed to be made up of leaders within the congregation. And we really mean spiritual leaders, people who have the Holy Spirit in their being day in and day out. And the individuals also to be influence agents and viewed as such by the congregation. And so you're going to be creating a network of laity leaders as a core team that we discussed a couple of days ago. And so how are you going to build this team? How are you going to bring them together?
Well, the focus for building the team is the identity and purpose for your church. In other words, you're not building the team based on relationships, based on past performance, based on anything else that pulls these people together. You're building the team around a common view of identity and purpose for your church. It begins with prayer, and prayer undergirds it all the way through, because this is more of a discerning process than anything else, and testing it with some very, very important questions. I feel so strongly that these questions are questions that if any congregation can answer them adequately and accurately and honestly, that congregation is likely to thrive. And if a congregation can answer these questions, then their chances of thriving are not very good at all. The first question, and the place to begin, is to talk about who are we? Who are we as a people? What is the culture that makes us who we are? What is it that brings us together, that identifies us, and that gives us the common thread that we call whatever this congregation is? And the second question, which is clearly a discernment question, what has God called us to do? So many times strategic planning in churches takes the form of everyone deciding what they think the church ought to do. That's not the purpose here. The purpose is, what is God calling the congregation to do and to become? The purpose then is God's purpose, not a purpose that we dream up. And then the third, equally important question, who is our neighbor? Where has God placed us? Who are the people that God is calling us to reach as we begin to move into the community? And then equipping us for these three questions, what are the values? What are the core values that are most important to this congregation? What is it that has sustained us and guided us in the past and that we will carry on into the future? Help to identify those key core values, not everything that we value, but what's at the heart of who we are. And then you ask the question, how does this vision meet the needs of our community? What a difference can we make in this community? How can we change lives, make disciples, transform lives, and transform the community by understanding better who we are, what God's calling us to do, and who is our neighbor? And then the implementation phase. What will it look like if we implement our strategy? What difference will it make in the lives of the people around us, in the community itself, and in our congregation? Those are the key questions to be asked as you seek to build your team. And then we have an action item for you, of course. And the action is, go ahead, Ted.
The action is to go ahead and set up a meeting with your core team to create a unified view of identity and purpose. And unified doesn't mean 100% agreement with the tactics, but unified in direction, unified in answering the questions that Andy just gave you on the previous chart. And all of this is for the purpose of helping God's people take the next faithful step towards your local church identity and purpose, and to disturb your church culture in the direction of Christian discipleship. And that in turn will enhance generosity and financial vitality. If you've already done this, it's important to go back and revisit it as you go through the change process. It's important to keep this grounding and testing everything that you do against the discussion you had as a team. So good luck with this action, and we'll see you later on in the future. We'll discuss some other action items with you. God bless.